This is the Talk2Jack Podcast with UnkuJack, exploring topics on heart, mind, soul, and the human experience. Let's talk.
See, I can get you something like this, and then you join the team and all this stuff. That was my last day under the bridge because I knew what that meant. What that means actually. So I walked down from VI to Aja. I was looking for a job. Then I had some little knowledge about graphics, so I was looking for maybe a business center that is looking for a graphic artist and all. And then I met Timmy. His name, yes, I met Timmy Mene. And then Timmy spoke to his boss that I think that this person could actually help them. He has some little knowledge in graphics, and at the same time, I think he's good with fixing some computer system. So the boss employed me, and then Timmy allowed me to stay in his house. He knew me from nowhere, but then the man was paying me 6,000 naira. So, and Timmy was, yes, per month. That was 2008, April.
Wow.
So my story was, I would say that the story is actually long, but just to cut it short, I became very comfortable with Timmy, and there was this part of me that felt like this wasn't what you wanted. You wanted more. If what you're looking for is somebody to pay 6,000 naira, you have food to eat. There was no reason you leaving Ibadan and risking everything so much and taking that audacious step coming down to Lagos. So I told Timmy I needed to move. So I went back to Ikeja. There was this secondary school along Bank Anthony Way, Victory High School. So I started sporting inside Victory High School. And then I would sleep inside one of the classes. I was attending a church along that street. There I met some guy. I joined the choir, and then I was talking to some guys there. That was when I met Sheon Akitomide. Sheon Akitomide was the former drummer in the church. So Sheon asked me to come and stay with them at Ogba. So from Ogba, I met Mr. Inka. Mr. Inka was the owner of Alogin Venture. And he is like a vendor with Sterling Bank. That was how I started. I learned how to run network cable, Cat 5, Cat 6, and then you working on patch panels using terminating into the comb boxes, and it was more or less like anytime he has job, he would call me to come and work on it. That was when So that was when he now told me that I needed to go back to school. That how can you be this intelligent without a degree? He told me that degree is going to really, really open me to some opportunities. And then I told him that was the reason why I came to Lagos, but I don't know how to go about it. Unilag was never in my picture because I felt Unilag was meant for the big boys and then the rich folks, actually. And Mr. Inka told me that why not go to Unilag so that you still be in Lagos, and anytime I have some gigs, you can always come around and then you'll be part of it, instead of you going to maybe Ilorin or you go to Ibadan and all. So I decided to write my JAMB. I passed JAMB. I went for post-UTME. I passed my post-UTME. I came out with merit list. My name came out in the merit list, and then I started looking for money to pay. I struggled, and then I remember Reverend Tony Akinyemi. I'm sure the man did not know. He signed a check. Someone told him about me, and he paid 38,500 naira.
Wow.
He just issued the check that if this guy wants to go to school, I'll pay his school fees.
Wow.
So he gave me the first money that I used to pay my school fees. That was how I started Unilag. So after I finished my first 100 level, I needed to pay for 200 levels. I started looking for a job. That was when I came I come. That was when I met Yomi Jones, that brought me to Banker's Warehouse, that led to me meeting you actually.
Wow. 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 You know what I keep hearing in your story? There are certain themes that seem to keep coming up. And I'm going to let you keep talking because this interview is not about me. It's about you and the story that you have to tell. But you'll forgive me for interjecting from time to time because I just think it's important to point out a few things that I hear. First of all, wow, your story. And I know there's a lot more coming. But there's a theme of commitment and a theme of determination that I hear that you keep repeating over and over again. You keep saying, I knew that I needed to do this. I knew that I wanted to do this. I knew I needed an education. I knew I wanted an education. I knew I needed to be in Lagos. I knew I wanted to be in Lagos. And to me, what that points out to me is the power of vision. You know, like when you have a vision for your life, when you have a vision for where you want to be and who you want to be, where you want to go, it's the beginning of everything. You know what I mean? It's hard to derail someone with a vision for where they want to be and who they want to be. And I think that it's absolutely impressive. And I think even more impressive is that you keep adding fuel to that vision, because one of the things that I also keep hearing you saying is that I'm grateful for. You know, I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I was grateful to meet this person, and I was grateful for that, and that speaks to something that vision does for you as a person. When you have a vision for where you want to be, the decisions you make in your life will always line up to position you for that vision, or for the opportunities that will take you to that vision. And you've talked about being under the bridge. You've talked about walking long distances and finding yourself in certain places and in certain environments. But the environments that you found yourself in turned out to be the places where your help came from, because you were positioned right. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what I'm hearing in your story. It's like you met this person and this person chose to do this, and you met this person and this person gave you an opportunity, and you met this person and they gave you solid advice and backed it up. You met this person and they gave you a job, but because you were in the right place at the right time, positioned to take advantage of those opportunities, I think that's absolutely amazing. And then you and I met on the project. I mean, we worked alongside each other a few times in the course of the project. I was, for our listeners, I was project managing a construction project. Well, it wasn't it was a construction project, but it was more of a business project that had a construction element to it. And Tosin was attached to one of the vendors who was providing a service on the project. And Tosin reminded me that we had a conversation in particular about himself and about his future. I don't remember because sometimes I talk a lot and I can just go off on a tangent and I talk and talk and talk. But he reminded me of that story. And Tosin, I want to tell you this. The day that you shared that story with me was a very pivotal day, because that particular day, I remember waking up that morning feeling very heavy. Sometimes, you know, no matter what you're trying to do, no matter how consistent you're trying to be with your objectives and your goals and things like that, sometimes you find yourself in situations where, you know, you feel weighed down. You don't feel like you're making as much progress as you want to make. And sometimes you don't feel like the clouds are bright. Sometimes you don't feel like, you know, things are lining up the way they're supposed to. And, you know, as much as we can draw on inspiration from within ourselves sometimes and look back on our journey and we see where we've come from and we draw strength from that and say, hey, look, I'm not who I was yesterday. I'm not where I was a year ago. I'm definitely not where I was 10 years ago. I've done well for myself. I still have ways to go, but I cannot negate what I have achieved, you know, so far. But then there are some days that you wake up and it's just heavy. And when that happens, sometimes you need that little bit of inspiration, that little thing that just picks you up and reminds you that you're on the right track. And that was what you did for me that day when you sent me that message out of the blue. And I just wanted to let you know that I really appreciate it. and it speaks a lot to you, a person with your beginnings, but also with who you are today and what you're doing, to be to remember moments like that in your life and to still be able to, show affection to people and to be humble and to inspire people and to pay compliments and to give feedback. That was absolutely amazing for me that day. And I just wanted to let you know that. And if you wouldn't mind sharing what you shared with me that day, that'd be great.
Yeah. To me, I think, yes, I had some moments in my life that I felt this entitlement mentality. Yeah, sorry that I used that word, but
It's
I
valid.
felt because
It is what it
because
is.
because I worked on the projects, I felt definitely bankers warehouse were going to need some guys that will manage the security cameras. Yes, I configured the NVRs, that's network video recorder.
Yeah.
Yes, I configured it. So I had this notion that all I needed to do was to walk to Jack and just tell him, of course, you can remember me. I worked on the project, so why don't you just sign me on this project and let me continue to work? After all, I heard that the pay was very, very high, and why can't you just pay somebody that is already that did the job? So I came to your office. The intention was you telling me. I wasn't ready for you to tell me, Tosin, you need to work harder. Tosin, you need to trust your process. Tosin, I wasn't ready for that. I was looking forward to you just telling me, oh yes, you work on this project, Tosin, go ahead and start, resume. And then I was looking for something I was looking for something on a platter of gold actually. But that very day you made me saw something different, and that was that there is a process for everything. And regardless of wherever you are, you need to trust the process and you need to go through the right process. And that has really helped me in everything I've done in my life. When you told me about the job and you told me that I needed to go through the process of the interviews and meeting the head of technology and all this stuff, I was looking at it like, with your connect, you just need to tell him, this is the guy that did this thing. And then after you said that, you saw me off from your office, and then we came across, I think his name was Ben, but I can't remember him very well.
And it was Steph. I remember Steph.
I think Mr. Stan?
Steph Brown.
Yes, Steph Brown. Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Steph Brown. Yes,
That was his name, yeah.
Yes. We met Mr. Steph Brown. When we met him, you told him, oh, Steph, this is Oluwatosin. He worked on the project. He configured the NVR. It was more or less like you selling me to him, and he felt like, oh, he's an IT person. Come to my office. Can I have a few minutes with him? That was an opportunity for me to sell myself, to show that yes, I'm capable. I'm worth the job that I'd imagined in my head. And that very day, I flopped because the man was asking me about switch configurations, router configurations, which I've never touched in my life. I've never used Packet Tracer or GNL or those tools that they use for simulations.
Yeah.
And the man just looked at it like, no, you're just layer one. Anybody can do what you've just done. It's just running off cable. And I lost the job. Then it was dawned on me that this was an opportunity that could have become something bigger, and you could have what I was looking for. That was actually it. The good I was looking for. That was actually it for me. And then when I went back to school, I decided to just focus on making sure that I finished my school. I finished schooling. And then, but one thing I did with that experience was that I made sure that I was ready for every opportunity that comes my way, and I never allowed that to go.
But that seems very broad. The idea of being ready for anything. Now, I'm facing that by saying, my name is Jack, but I've also been known to be a jack of all trades. You know, I do a little bit of everything. I understand a little bit of everything. I study a lot. I'm always reading. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to learn. Not necessarily because not necessarily because I want to be ready for every eventuality. But at some point in my life, that was my driving force. I would have random thoughts like, what if I'm traveling somewhere one day and the plane goes down? And I find myself stuck on a deserted island. Would I be able to survive? I better learn what this plant is and how I can make fresh water from salt water and random things like that. And I know it sounds silly, but as a kid growing up, I would have these fantasies about these extreme situations. And a part of me thought, I need to train myself, you know, to be able to learn as much as I could so that if I found myself in any situation, I would be able to thrive in that situation. But it's very ambiguous. You know, it's a very broad thing to try to achieve. What was your focal point? What was your tether, your anchor point? When you were trying to prepare yourself for every eventuality, there must have been a theme, there must have been a tether that you were holding on to in your mind saying, okay, I can't be a jack of everything, but maybe I can be a jack of everything IT related or everything software related or everything network related, or you know what I mean? What was your tether?
Yes, maybe before I even go into IT, I should talk about some of the things that actually happened. Okay. After I left university, I had this notion, which I think most graduates do, and that is once I finish with a good result, that's 2-1 or first class, definitely job is going to come knocking on my door.
Yeah, I think we all had that.
I had that notion. I couldn't wait just to write my final exams. And then I remember Mr. Yinka, that very day that I wrote my last paper, I sent him a message. I said, I'm a graduate now. He told me, thumbs up, Oluwatosin. You've done very well, but I need you to know that you've just started.
Yeah.
And I felt like, what else do you want me to do? Instead of you to tell me that, Tosin, I have this connect, please just go to so person and tell him that you are from Yinka Obiwale. And then let me just start. You said I need a degree. Now I have a degree. What else? And I did that then for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I was looking for the same job that over 5 million Nigerians were actually looking for. Age wasn't on my side. There were some people younger than I am. And there were some people that were like 21. I had a lot of like 19, 20, 21 sets that we graduated together. Of course, companies want to employ people that they are still very agile. They believe that they still have a lot of years to work before they start thinking about other responsibilities like family and all. That wasn't on my side. And I was fighting for the same thing. And I did that for 6 years. And in between, I got a scholarship to Case Western University in US. And I sent some of my projects that I did in school to the university. And then I got 4 professors that wrote back to me that they would like me to work with them. One of them helped me to secure a loan, $40,000. And then, so almost everything I needed for, in terms of living in Cleveland, were all sorted out. So I had this confidence walking to the U.S. Embassy that you guys had no option than to just give me my visa and let me just go to U.S. And then it was like a way out of this searching for job, and
I'm here to collect my property. Here we go.
August 16, my visa was denied.
Yeah.
And I felt down.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I slipped into serious depression. Why? Because I had spent every money I made on processing US. Everything. I had 84 naira. I borrowed money back home. So I slipped straight into depression. And then I was struggling with migraine, seriously. and I locked myself for over 3 weeks. I didn't open the gate. I was crying. I hated God. I was looking at it like this was my only way out of this entire thing. Why do you want me to live all my life going through pain? And 3 days later, I felt like there was just nothing else to do. Let me just die. So we had this chemical we use for killing cockroaches. Then my brother bought it. I was sporting with my brother then, and he traveled. I carried the poison, and I felt like this was it. I'm done. I'm done trying. I had lost all the strength, all the energy in me. I just wanted it end to end. But one thing stopped me, and that was just because how can I suffer so much and continue in hell? That was the only thing that stopped me several times that I attempted this. And then I switched from attempting to kill myself to praying to God to kill me. Every evening before going to bed, I will pray to God, Father, thank you because today you're going to kill me and tomorrow I will not wake up. I'm being sincere with you, Jack. Wow. I pray that every day. And then the following morning, I will open my eyes, then I will cry. There's a difference between when you cry and you have tears and when you cry with agony.
It's from inside.
When you cry with pain. I cried with pain. I hated God so much because I felt like he just hated me for no reason. And I was already close to 34. And there was nowhere my life was going to show any signal that there is going to be a light at the end of my tunnel. And then one thing happened. Something struck my mind like, why not try programming? I started talking to a few people about it, and then a lady I'd never met, she's in the UK, just told me, I think with the way you talk, with the way you think, I think programming would be a very good fit for you. I had no money to buy a system. I had no money to go for training. I had nothing. The only thing was that my phone, I remember very well, I had about 200 and something MB. Yeah. So I went online and I searched for a book. I reached out to the person that authored the book and I told him, how is the book changed my life? I picked the book, I started studying. I was just studying stupidly. I just wanted to. That was my way out of depression. So I will read for like 17 hours every day.
Wow.
I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. There was nothing. I was practically out of this world. I wasn't bathing. I wasn't doing anything. The only thing was I was reading. Once there was light, connect my phone, and I kept on reading. The way I was practicing was I was writing. I had a lot of books. So I was writing inside those books. I was writing inside those books because I had no system for me to practice what I was reading. So I was just imagining those thoughts in my head. I read about 1,000 and something pages within 3 weeks and practiced them. Then one of these days I came across a system. The screen is detached from the body, and then there was no battery. With my little knowledge in fixing computers, I was able to bring it to life. I looked for a memory, and then that system will work for like 1 hour plus or 2 hours, and then the system will hang. And then when I tried to rebuild the system, everything had gone. So I have to start all over. That was my life story. And then something that happened to me, whenever I'm talking to people that want to go into software engineering, this is the part I used to talk about. And that is, it got to a particular time that the light in our house developed fault. And then for over 6 months, NEPA, for I think about a year plus, NEPA could not fix it, PHCN. So I had to work on an extension. I looked for I think I got a cable, a longer cable, and then I connected it attach it to the extension. I will go to people's shop, and then I will beg them to allow me to connect the extension inside their shop, and I'll bring it inside the sun, and I'll sit down with that system, and I'll be there from 9 a.m. till sometimes 6 p.m. I was doing that every day.
Wow.
And after practicing for 2 weeks, everything that I did never worked. Imagine trying to create a login page, just a login page. For 2 weeks, I couldn't create a login page. I will go back inside, I will cry with pain. That was my story. But one day, my login page worked. And I felt as if I had built Facebook. That was the way I felt that very day.
You know what? I almost feel like that for you. Listening to you tell the story, I almost feel like, wow.
I felt like I had built Facebook. That was the way I felt. I closed the system. I worked as if I was working with Google.
Wow.
That was the way I felt that very day. And then that is what I used to tell people. The way our brain picks information. Our brain picks information piece by piece, putting them together to form a knowledge, to form wisdom that we can now use to build our life.
Yeah.
The words we speak today, you can't expect 5-year-old child to speak like you, Jack.
Yeah.
The same way. It's accumulation of experiences and words you've been able to build. That's your vocabulary. The same way is programming. Our brains that's why they call it programming language. More or less like your brain is speaking something bit by bit and then putting it together. And then that was it for me. I became seriously engrossed into programming. I started reading everything possible. Within 3 weeks, I put on the resources that I've read. I've read over 20,000 pages.
Wow.
Within 3 months, I've read over 20,000 pages. I kept on picking different books. I picked as many books as possible. I met a guy that said he's been coding for over 10 years. I'm not sure if he's still there. He was the head of INLAC, Ghana.
Okay.
And Andrew, we spoke, and then he looked at me and said, "You told me you've been doing this thing for only 3 months, and you have this knowledge about it. I can't wait to see where you'll be in the next 5 years." He said the same thing. He said that word to me.
Wow.
And I think today he's really proud of me. And that was how I got into programming, actually.
Look, Tosin, I am absolutely blown away by some of the things you said. I keep getting buzzwords every time you talk. There's certain words that just jump out at me in my mind the more I listen to you talk. Resilience, sacrifice. And I have to say, the drive that you have is not normal. I wish all of us had the same drive that you did, but that ability, that burning, that fire that you have inside of you that says, I must do this, I must achieve this. Actually, to be honest, it's very similar to how I talk to every time I do a coaching session with people, or every time I'm mentoring people at the office, or I'm talking to people casually, and people get into this headspace, this funk about, I can't do this, or this is a problem, and they focus on the problem. This is the problem. We have this issue. And one of the things I keep telling them is, I'm happy that you can acknowledge that there's a problem. That is important. A lot of people want to keep their head up in the clouds. You want to ignore the problems that you have. You want to ignore that there's an issue that needs to be dealt with, and it always compounds itself and comes back later on to bite you. But by acknowledging that you have a problem that needs to be dealt with, the biggest mistake that you can make is staying fixated on the problem. You just stay, this is a problem. Oh my God, the problem. What you should be doing, what we all should be doing, is focusing on where we want to be, which is not the solution, but the outcome. The solution is a it's one of the tools to get us to our outcome. And so because the outcome is where we want to go, because your outcome was, I want to do this, I want to be this, it meant that every time you hit an obstacle, you weren't stumped by the obstacle because you kept thinking of ways around it. And what I think is even more impressive is that you were doing that without feeling it. You know, from what you described, the place where you were in that depressive state, which some of us can really relate to, in a lot of cases, some of us, it would be just like you were for 3 weeks. It would be hard to just even get out of bed. It would be hard to see any meaning to getting out of bed to do anything. And you found something to latch onto almost obsessively and decided that this was going to be your tether. And you started learning a new language. You started learning something new, something that would take you to where you wanted to be. But to do that, I know how hard it is to do that in the state of mind that you're in. And I'm happy that you shared that, because I know that someone out there is going to listen to this and they're going to say to themselves, this man just described the way I'm feeling right now. And if he was able to pick himself up and still continue to face obstacles, but still kept going until he started achieving something, then maybe there's hope for me yet. Maybe I'm going to get up and start to do something. And that is so inspirational, Tosin. I wanted to ask you what your state of mind was in the moments when you were depressed and the very moment when that transition came. You mentioned it quite matter-of-factly, that, you know, one moment you were depressed and then you start, you know, somebody said something about programming and the way your mind works, and so you decided to jump to that. But I know that sometimes when we're in that depressive headspace, when being in a negative headspace can feel very comforting. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes when we're dealing with stuff and we're in a bad place, sometimes we just want to lie down there and just feel sorry for ourselves and feel like, you know, like you even prayed, you said, God, you know, you kill me. I will not kill myself, but you kill me. And I can totally relate to that, because I don't know if you know this, my mother passed away from cancer many years ago now. And I think it was probably about the time I met you. You know, she passed away from cancer sometime around there. And I had just found out she had cancer. No, it wasn't before. It was years before I met you, actually. That was my dad. But anyway, I remember finding out that my mom had cancer and being so overwhelmed with grief about finding out that she had cancer. And I remember standing outside one night, staring at the moon shortly after I found out. And I know that standing out at night, staring at the moon and the stars, it always felt very comforting to me. But that night, it did not feel comforting. I was angry. I was mad at God. I was mad at the universe. I was just, why her? She was the sweetest, kindest, most generous human being who had always been selfless and done everything for everyone else. How could she have cancer? You know what I mean? And yeah. I remember standing there that day and I said, okay, you know what, God? This is it. Let's make a deal. You take the cancer from her and you put it on me. I'm young. I can handle it. I'm stronger. I'm more viral. I can handle it. She doesn't deserve this. I can take it. And I remember when my mom found out some months later that I had said those words, she was so mad at me. She was so upset. So why would you do that? Why would you invite that into your life? Why would you call the universe to bring that down on you? You need to recant that immediately. Do it here. Do it right now. You will not do that. And I remember that being in that headspace, it made sense to me at the time that, look, all of this has to end. I don't see the light. I don't see the end point. This was not my suicide story. It was a moment of despair. I have other suicide stories where I tried to kill myself as well because I felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel, you know. But there was something about that prayer of, God, put it on me instead. Let me deal with it. Take me instead. Just remove me from this mess. You know, take it out of the equation. Let the pain end. But to transition from that point of despair, of let the pain end, to finding purpose and to meaning, there had to be a moment where a switch went off in your head, where you started to see that light again, even though it was dim, where you started to see that light and you started to find that purpose again, which led you down the path of programming. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that transition process from absolute despair to all of a sudden thinking, okay, wait a minute, maybe I could try this?
Wow. For me, yes, the being suicidal wasn't just the 3 weeks, but that was the height of it for me. I had it several times actually. I had it several times till when I started seeing that there is possibility that programming will change my life. Because going into programming was more or less like you jumping into an ocean without knowing how to swim. I had no mentor. I had nobody to tell me what to do. I was just reading it. It was more or less like to distract my mind. I wasn't really seeing something big coming out of it. I just needed something to distract my mind.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
That was the only thing I was doing. I just needed something to distract my mind. And the only thing I found really interesting was programming. After talking to the lady I told you about in UK. And then she kept on checking on me. With time, I blocked everybody. I deleted all my contacts. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to be indoor. The first time I opened the gate, the neighbors were like, "We thought you also traveled. We've not seen you for weeks. What happened?" I was just laughing. And then after that day, I think I was indoor for almost a month again. Now, I'm this kind of person that I'm a melancholy.
Yeah.
When my brother came back, I hid my feeling away from him. He didn't know. Yet I was dying. I was dying every day. I knew I was dying. And where the light came for me was when I went online and I read about programming to understand what can you do with programming. What do you think programming can do for you? And I also that there is high tendency that if you continue in 5 years' time, you can get to maybe 150,000 naira job, maybe 200,000 naira job. Maybe some of the jobs I checked then, they put the salary 250, and then 250 was like you making 600 or 750 now.
Yeah.
So I was imagining it. The jobs I was looking for were jobs to pay me 70, 80. Now you're telling me that I can make 250,000 naira. Oh, no problem. I think I think this was it for me. And then I got to the level of delayed gratification. That was after studying for about 8 months. A job came. I've searched for a job for 6 years.
Yeah.
A job came and they wanted to pay 130,000 naira. They dropped it on my table. All I needed to do was to resume. If you remember, I've been looking for something on a platter of gold. Yeah. Now that was it.
They laid it out.
You've been crying for something to come. You don't want to struggle before you get it. Now you have 130,000 naira. My immediate elder brother is at 10. I think he has worked for about 4 or 5 years. His salary then was 157.
Wow.
And a job of 130 just dropped on my table. And I told them no. I turned it down.
Whoa, why?
I turned it down because I could see what programming would do for me. Wow. Even when nothing was happening around me.
Vision.
I could see it. I remember my dad was around. My dad almost frustrated, begging me. Because he knows that I've searched for a job. They were worried about me.
Yeah.
And then a job of 130 came. My dad almost. He was begging me. He did everything. He spoke to me in the middle of the night, woke me up and said, okay, why don't you just start this thing while you are doing your programming? I said, no. That what I've started, what I could see, I know nobody could. You people can't see what I can see. They were like, we can't see anything. There's nothing. The only thing I see every day is you sit behind a system that looks very rough, and then you are writing something that I can't pay 2 naira for. My dad made that statement. I reminded them last year when he came to my house. And then my dad looked into my apartment and was like, when are we going to your house? Because my dad felt maybe I took him to maybe a hotel or so.
Oh, wow.
He said, no, Daddy, this is my house. My dad was like, so one of my children will live in an apartment like this.
Wow.
And my dad said that, please, what are you doing? Is this still the same, those tiny, tiny things you're doing? I said, yes, Daddy. And he told me that, please, can you teach me?
Oh, wow. Wow.
And then he called my younger ones. He said, please, you people should call your brother. That thing that he's doing, I need you guys to go and start doing it too. If that thing could make him live in an apartment like this, that means that is what you people need to do. Wow. And that is delayed gratification. I could have picked that job. Last year, my brother called, and then he called the guy that, like, the plug for the job, and then the guy told him that, you see that job I told your brother to pick? That job is now 300,000 naira. If your brother had picked that job, do you know what that means? Then my brother laughed at him. He said, your salary, my brother is making it in 30 days. Your own salary. That's what my brother told him, that your salary, not the job you're talking about, your own. The guy is the head of the IT.
Wow.
He told him that your salary, my brother is making it within 30 days at the comfort of his room. And then the guy asked him, is it that same programming that he's doing? He said yes.
I like the way everybody talks about the same, as if it's just, that programming. Like, it's so
and
easy.
That is
it's just that thing.
Jack. Many people want to have their cake right now. Yeah. Of course, you know that our generation is fast A. We want fast food. Even when we pray to God, we're praying to God and telling him, God, you fix it now. I'm not ready for you to come and fix it tomorrow. If you can't fix it now, I move.
Yeah.
No, I waited. When I tell people that I read for 17 hours, I meant 17 hours every day.
But why? Why, Tosin? Why did you? Sorry to cut you off, but why did you turn out that? I mean, I know you said you knew you deserved more. I think maybe my question of why is not so much why, it's what was the state of your mind at that time when the opportunity came up and then the decision to turn it down. It's never easy. Sometimes we pray for things and we hope for things and we want certain things, and then the thing starts to come up and then we look at it and sometimes we're afraid. Sometimes we don't think that we'll be able to do it. Sometimes, it just doesn't feel right. What was the case with you? What was the kind of going on inside of you at that time?
For me, I've invested so much into programming. I wasn't ready to throw it away. I was always on Stack Overflow. I was always on Quora. And I see guys that talked about programming, and then you hear the salary they were making. And then I look at my family. I look at it that if I'm making 130,000 naira, how much do you think I want to send to my father? How much do I want to send to my mother? How much do I want to give my younger ones? Then my biggest fear, probably I would say that there were some fears, because I looked at it, I wasn't ready to have a family. If you talk about family, I look at you like, why do you hate me so much? Why? Because I look at because I wasn't ready to have a woman that I can't fend for.
Yeah.
I don't want my wife to suffer. I don't want my kids to suffer. So don't talk about marriage.
Do you
It's a
think that
no-no
your
for me.
upbringing kind of
Yes,
influenced the way you thought about that?
yes, because I don't know this thing, picnic thing.
Mm. Yeah.
That picnic thing, Gary of that 2 picnic of Gary,
Mm.
that's what 6 people are going to share for an entire day, for the whole day rather.
Mm.
And that was it. Then we start hoping that tomorrow we get something like that.
Mm.
And you want me to have a family, not sure that I'll be able to fend for them. So it was no for me. But when I now saw that programming, I was reading a lot of comments, how people move from nothing and to something. And then I began to see that if I put in the effort, if I put in the required time and everything, do everything I needed to do, learn as much as I needed to do, practice everything I needed to do. That was why I was given 17 hours. I looked at it like this was a way out for me. I did a lot of researches. I tried to search if I want to become a banker, how long is it going to take me to earn 250 then? And I saw that maybe 10 years. I wasn't ready to wait for that. I looked at my age. If I should have 10 years to eat, that means that I'll be 40 something before I'll be able to make 250. And then I see people living on the island or staying on the mainland. And even on the mainland, you now ask house rent, you now hear that for you to get a room and parlor, you need 700,000 naira. That is something that some people will tell you they can't stay inside. And I want to live a comfortable life, yet I don't want to steal. So I was ready to give what it takes. That was it for me. I was ready to wait. I was ready to go the extra mile of studying
to get what you
and that
deserve.
was what I did.
Wow, you've said so much, and I feel like I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. Unfortunately, well, I guess with the podcast medium we can, but then I don't know what people's attention span would be. Maybe we'll have to schedule another talk again so that we can even talk more in detail about specific things. Because I'd also like to pick your brain at some point on the tech industry and the future of tech and what's going on in the world of tech. Especially because I think that is the future, and that's where the world is not even just moving towards, it's where it is now. And I think a lot of people could gain a lot from your knowledge in that area. But for this conversation, there are two more things I would like to touch on with you. One of the things that you have continually touched on again, I keep talking about these thematic elements. I don't know if it's the philosopher in you or if it's I'm huge on philosophy. I'm very philosophical. In fact, sometimes I can't sleep at night because all I'm doing is thinking about all kinds of things. But one of the themes again is you. I don't know if it's born out of your drive but your willingness to learn. I've told people many times over, people that I coach, people that I mentor, people in the office who work under me. And one of the things that you cannot micromanage 500 people. It's just impossible. And so you focus on developing people who buy into your ideology, who buy into what it is that you want to achieve, just like you have the drive, the vision, and then you impart as much knowledge and skill and ability to think in line with the culture that you want to build into those people. And then you release them to develop themselves and to grow within their own ecosystem, right? And to become, and then they multiply that down the line. And one of the things that I've always told people is that one of the most difficult people to teach will be someone who thinks that they know. It is extremely difficult to teach someone who is educated, in quote, because it's like you've poured concrete into the foundation and it has set. And then now you tell me that I want to change the shape of the foundation. There's no way that you can do that without breaking down that concrete first and starting all over again. It's the same thing that is done in the military, for instance. When you go into the military, they spend the first few weeks, boot camp is to break down whatever biases you've built in your mind about what you deserve, what life should be, what you aspire to be, whatever it is you think that you are. And they break you down into spare parts. And then they rebuild you into this machine, into this image, into this soldier that takes orders, that works in unison with others, that can follow instructions, that can work together with other people towards a combined goal, right? And the same thing applies with learning. When people think that they know, it is almost impossible to teach. But when people don't know, but they're willing to learn, you can teach them anything.
Yeah.
And so character plays a more important part to me in growth than knowledge. You know, because if you have the right character, if you have the right attitude, then you're willing to grow, you're willing to learn, and, you know, and then you can imbibe everything. You can be shaped, you can be molded, you can take on new qualities and features, just like you did with all the different stages and steps. You've gone from living under the bridge, you've been singing in a choir, you have worked on dilapidated systems, you have pulled cables, you have installed patch panels and network systems, you have configured CCTV systems and NVRs, and then you've moved on from that into learning how to code. And from learning how to code, you understand more than anybody that building an architecture like that is essentially designing how everything works. A front end without a back end is no end, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, without the substance behind it, we're just flesh. You know, without all the heart and the muscles and the blood vessels and the neurons and protons and electrons all working to make this body work, you're nothing but skin. And even that at a sub level is complex. So that willingness to learn seems to be a recurring theme with you. And I think, if I may say so, that I think it's tied not only to your drive into what your vision was for your life and what you wanted to achieve, but in also just your strength of character. I hear a lot about humility in your voice and in the stories that you tell. And I think that plays a huge part in your life in that way. But having said that, you've mentioned in the past, and in the technical writer that you filled out before the interview, you mentioned about how mentorship has played a huge part in where you are today. Because I know that you said you were self-taught in a lot of ways, but I'm sure that over the years, you've had people who have imparted knowledge into you to assist you in growing and developing those skills. How important has mentorship been in your learning experience and in your growth experience?
Yeah, for me, actually, I talked about Mr. Emeka a lot.
Yeah.
Most of the interviews I did then here in Nigeria were actually like, when they asked me what kind of employer I'm actually looking forward to, I just tell them that I'm looking forward to an employer like Mr. Emeka. Mr. Emeka will tell me that he's not my boss, that he's just like someone with advanced knowledge, maybe someone who sees things better than I do, that was all. And then maybe your friend, so you can talk about anything. And then he's always there to guide. So I run to him for most of the stuff. When I moved from just making 6-figure to 7-figure, I ran to him to tell him about it. And the first thing he told me was like, Tosin, now I'm proud of you. When he said that word to me, I was like, this was it for me. It wasn't just about the money, but the fact that Mr. Emeka, of all people, could tell me that, Tosin, I'm proud of you. I've watched you grow. And then he said, now I need you to replicate it inside people. And then he told me that I need you to build people. Just imagine you bringing 10 people to the same level where you are. That's the next thing I need you to do. And at the same time, you need to keep growing. Then he told me that Now you've gotten to a level where I don't think I can mentor you. I need you to get somebody that can mentor you in what you're doing. Immediately, I got someone. I spoke to the person. I told him about my vision. I told him where I want to be in the next 5 years. I told him what I want to do and all. And the person told me, Tosin, whatever you are making, I make it in 2 hours.
Wow.
That was the first thing the person told me. He said, you know why? Because I never stopped learning. So he told me that before I can agree to mentor you, come back to me and tell me that you're making so amount of money. Then I will know that you are actually learning. Then I went back. 2 months later, I went back to him that I don't work for Nigerian companies again. I work for an international organization. This is what they are paying me. Then he told me, set up a meeting, let's talk. Then we got talking. 3 months later, I updated him. This is what I've been doing. He told me, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, I need you to do this. After I did that, I got an offer from another company from Romania. I just don't put some of these things in my profile because I started getting unnecessary attentions. Yes, so I had to remove some of those stuff from my profile. Currently, I have about 4 offers from big tech companies that I was just like, no, I needed to stabilize because the man told me there's a time for you to stabilize, learn how real applications are being developed. That is, when you're looking at solution architects, they're designing an entire system, how it works and everything. Now, that's the importance of having a mentor. A mentor is like guiding you. It's very easy for me to see far. We have a lot of good software engineers in Nigeria. Some of them, what they are earning is not up to what I'm making in 2 days. Why? Because there was nobody to guide. Having a mentor is like you standing on his shoulder to see. So that makes it, that's why I tell people a lot that getting a mentor is very, very key. And with the little I know, I've been able to help 6 people get international jobs.
Wow.
I'm talking about people earning as much as $4,800 monthly.
Wow. You're paying it forward.
So, as a software engineer.
Yeah, you're paying it forward. The things that people did for you, you're doing for other
so because
people.
Mr. Emeka told me I need to do it for people.
Amazing.
So that's what I've been doing. And that's why I tell people, the moment you're talking to me and I ask you, so who is your mentor? Your mentor does not necessarily have to be somebody you know physically. Do you have somebody you're looking forward to? Do you have somebody you're reading about that you want to build yourselves along that kind of like that line? It's very key. Mentorship is something I tell people it's like the best thing you can actually give yourself after you identify what you want to become. Why I decided to get a mentor was because I saw that it's very easy for me to start living like a big boy, thinking I've arrived. As I'm talking to you, Jack, I have 4 courses that I need to do. I must submit the certificate to him before the end of this month. I have 2 extra courses that he asked me to register. That I must submit May. And he told me that if you have these certifications and you have this knowledge and all, it is possible for you to make $30,000 monthly. Jack, imagine me making $30,000 monthly.
Well, with you, I believe it, because as far as I'm concerned, you can do anything. With the story that you've told me, I have nothing but respect and admiration for the things that you've achieved, for the humility of spirit, for the focus that you have, that goal to keep going, and then that humility to learn and to develop yourself. And then more importantly, you're also paying it forward. You're taking other people on your journey with you. You're not leaving people behind. A long time ago, and I've shared this before, a bunch of people, my old mentor that I had many years ago had told me that the day you stop learning is the day you become useless to God and to yourself. And I took that to heart, because I took that to mean that the day you stop learning is the day you die. And so what I started doing was I started making it a point to learn something new every day. I was 16, Tosin, at the time, and I'm 40 now. And I've been learning every day, making sure I learn something new every day for all of those years. And a few years ago, I made a commitment that I was going to start teaching something to someone every day, because that's paying it forward. But it's also an opportunity to learn. You learn by teaching others as well, because the more you share knowledge and you bring it out of yourself, you're hearing it, you're relearning it again, you're seeing new angles and new things. And that has been so monumental, not just to my growth, but also to my sense of gratification in my life and in what I'm doing with my life. But it also gives me a sense of purpose every day when I wake up in the morning. That you know that I have two goals for the day outside of any other goals that I'm going to do. One is to learn something new today, and the other thing is to teach something new today to someone. It doesn't matter who. I will learn from anyone, anywhere, anything. I will watch trees blow in the wind and learn something about root structures and how they bring stability to life. I learn every day, no matter what, and I can apply those real life scenarios to philosophical principles, to life principles, as metaphors or illustrations that, help me design programs for people or help me design things for people. And it's a big part about what I do with coaching. You mentioned mentorship. I like to see mentorship as imagine a gifted race car driver. That race car driver is nothing without his pit crew. It doesn't matter how good of a driver you are if your car isn't tuned right. If you don't have someone in your ear telling you what the other people are doing and how you're performing, where the turns are, where the curves are, how to approach things, if you don't have someone who's seen the big picture and helping you with the steps, which is a lot of what we do in coaching, is that we help people with the steps. Some people have a big picture and we help them with the steps to get to where they want to be. If you don't have someone helping you with that, then it's easy to get lost. It's easy to underperform. Like you said, it's easy to get comfortable. And in that comfort zone, you cease to grow. And you don't even realize it until you're dead in the water. Tosin, this is amazing. So the last thing I'm going to ask you, because you had mentioned to me several times about how important it is to you, is that I want to talk to you, want you to talk to us actually about the importance of God in your life, or of faith, of having a sense of purpose beyond yourself, a higher calling, a sense of closeness to whatever it is. Some people believe in God, some people believe in the universe, but your connection, your tether to those things. Can you talk a little bit about how that has helped you on your journey and how much that means to you?
I think people will believe if I tell them that I hated God for years. Actually,
I can relate to that.
I blame them for almost everything. I just look at it like you have the power to do a lot of things, so why not? I remember that was 2017. I was inside BRT bus, and I was going to Ikeja, and I was the only passenger inside BRT that early morning. And then I was worried. I was having these processes that was going through my head. And the major thing was like I was looking at my life. And I was looking at it like I remember I said it. I said, I can't remember a day that I can say I enjoyed life. And I was already close to 36 then. A day that I can tell myself that, Tosin, at this very day, you enjoyed life. And I told God, I said, for almost 36 years, I've been suffering. And you never see any reason to say, take a single day off. So I hated him. And that very day, I heard a clear voice. People can argue about it, but I was very sure about what I heard. I am certain of it. I heard it clear that if only you knew how much I love you. And I turned back because I thought somebody was behind me.
Someone had said something, yeah.
and there was nobody. And then I started having this conversation with him that, so you mean love to you is me going through pain? Love to you is me having to struggle about almost everything, having to beg for bread? If that is love, I'm not interested in that kind of love. I want to lead my life myself. I don't need you to be part of me. I said that to God. But today, the truth is, I've enjoyed God. I've enjoyed mercy. I've enjoyed His love. And today, I'm yet to understand how much He loves me. I have a family, my own family. I never saw it coming.
Wow.
The way
Congratulations,
it took me from nothing. Sometimes when I tell people that I live under the bridge, they tell me that it's not possible. I've seen people that said that I think why you have a very soft landing is because you're from a very rich family, and then I laugh. I'm being sincere with you, Jack. I laugh because I wish people could see me some years back. I have some pictures that I told my wife I'm going to share when the right time comes. You won't believe that this is Oluwatosin. When you saw me then, Tosin was already getting better. When you saw me then. After that, between 2016 to 2018, I was nothing. I looked very unkempt. I looked haggard. I looked washed out. To the extent that my wife, when she picked interest in me, I looked at her, you're beautiful, people were chasing you. My wife is a nurse. And then people were chasing you from America, from UK, because she's really, really, really beautiful. I'm not saying this because she's my wife. I mean, she's beautiful. And then I look at her like, are you okay? Are you sure you're normal? Why will you pick this thing? Because I wasn't sure that life was going to change for me. But God turned it around for me. And then I now understand that He's not a magician. The question, every miracle in the Bible, there is a question being asked. What do you have? Jesus could have just called manna from heaven and feed the 5,000. He asked them, what do you have? And they said, 2 fishes and 5 loaves. Trust me, without the 2 fishes and 5 loaves, miracle wouldn't have happened that very day. They would have gone without food. The same thing, he asked them, what do you have? 2 fishes and 7 loaves. But do you notice that 5 loaves and 2 fishes, they had 12 baskets. 7 loaves and 2 fishes, I think they had 7 baskets or 8. Why? Mathematically, they should have like 13, 14. That means that God doesn't need you to be perfect before He blesses you, but you must have something that is going to bless.
You have to have something to work on.
You need something. It doesn't need you to be 100%. Tosin is not the best programmer. I was talking to somebody, I told him that you can pick 10,000 good programmers in Nigeria before you even remember that there is a guy called Tosin that can actually code. But the little I know, what I'm making, some of them are not.
Wow.
And that is the grace that I've enjoyed. He has helped me. He has made one of the things that I think happened in my life or had happened in my life is that I'm always positioned in a particular place where help will come, which I never identified.
We talked about that opportunity thing, like
Yes.
being led to certain places and then your help comes from there. Yeah. That's amazing.
If I had not met you, come to your office, I wouldn't have met the head of IT who said something that made me feel like I needed to add value to myself. Being at a position at the right place, being at the place that is going to add value to you, even though when those values you might not see them. I think that is what has really helped me. And I can only say this is God, because when you look at where I am with where I'm coming from, I don't think I can actually like resolve it in terms of like saying yes. When you're coming from here you get to this point. So there's something that I can't explain in between, and that thing I can't explain in between is God for me.
Wow. I couldn't have put it better myself, Tosin. Thank you so much for taking the time out to share this, first of all, amazing story. But even more importantly to me, thank you for being my first interviewee on the podcast. You have an amazing story. You said something earlier about paying things forward and about sharing and teaching and training other people. While I was doing a deep dive on you, just to familiarize myself with your background and some of the things you've been doing since we last met, I came across so many things online with you participating in training programs for other people and helping to teach other people. Even some of the projects that you started on your own, company that you started, piqued my interest a lot. I believe it's called quickfix.ng.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of interest in that, but I will definitely be talking to you about that because the description, it said quickfix.ng is a rapid response platform that connects Nigerians to necessary tools, to necessary help during crises. And that, I think, speaks to your heart as well, that you still have a heart to help people, a heart to see people come up and to be the best versions of themselves. Once again, the key buzzwords that I hear in your life story, Tosin, that keep reoccurring: sacrifice, resilience, gratitude, commitment, determination, humility, and patience. And if I could add one more, holding on, that tether to God that you have, and being grateful for the opportunities and the roles that the factor of God or the factor of the universe being bigger than you plays in positioning you to be who you desire to be, who inside of yourself you know that you can be. It's been an amazing conversation, an amazing story. Thank you so much, Tosin, for taking time out to speak to us today. Why don't you take a moment to just plug yourself so that anybody who wants to reach out to you, whether for work or just to share stories or just to hear more from you, can find you? Would you like to just tell us how we can get in touch with you?
Mostly, I'm always on LinkedIn, actually. I'm not a social media person, actually. I don't have Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook accounts.
All right. So would you share your LinkedIn handle?
Yes. Oluwatosin Amokoedo.
Okay.
So
I'll put a link to your page in the bio of the podcast so that if people want to connect with you, they can do so. Tosin has had an amazing life, from a life under the bridge to a life filled with gratitude and the achievement of his dreams, family, and being able to allow his parents see the success, which I realize as someone who's lost both parents now, I know how important that is to someone like you or like me who's been through things, and you want to be able to give back to the people who sacrifice so much to help you come up, So thank you so much for being amazing. Thank you for being who you are. I will be talking to you again more about tech stuff this time because there's so much stuff that people have to learn from you. And I believe that you have so much that you can offer to everyone. Thank you so much, Tosin, for taking time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon. All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, so I'll put the link in the bio. Thank you for listening to the podcast today, everyone. I've been talking with Tosin, who has been an absolute inspiration. I hope you found this topic helpful. You can tune in on any of our social media platforms on Instagram at UnkuJack, that's UnkuJack. On YouTube, UnkuJack. Our website is jackandi.com, that is JACKANDI.com. Stay safe, everyone. Live your best life. Live a life of gratitude. There is nothing under the sun that you cannot do if you are determined enough and if you're willing to learn and push through, just like we learned from Tosin today. Have a great day, everyone. And as always, be inspired. This has been the Talk2Jack Podcast with UnkuJack. Tune in next time for another episode.